Entrepreneurship is freaking hard. Your ultimate goal should be to set people in place with really solid systems and a good foundation for them to operate and be those technicians so that you can focus on the other stuff.
Manager is somebody who's got talent for just blow your mind here managing.
If you get caught thinking my job is to still engineer things, you're not going to actually build out a very healthy business.
I've got my homemade Eddie barista espresso.
Dude, no, it's not an espresso machine. Well, I guess it is an espresso machine.
It is a part espresso machine. It also makes coffee, which obviously makes it a very nice espresso machine.
Yes, it's an instant.
They come in pods. It's as good as wine in a box, man.
It's phenomenal.
For all of the connoisseurs.
Have we talked about this yet? Like, I feel like we've talked about this.
We definitely have, but in the midst of having this conversation,
You were making sweet cream.
Yeah. I made, yes. I steamed some milk, threw some sugar in there.
No. You steamed some milk.
I frothed it in the microwave.
You put it in a microwave. That is not steaming milk.
I was resourceful.
I'll give you that. That was definitely resourceful.
I was resourceful.
Oh my gosh, dude.
You want to know something too? I kind of regret it because I realized all over again that I don't really like sugar in my coffee.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm just not a fan right now.
Like sugar in your coffee? I mean, I like sugar in my coffee. I mean, I got to cut back on sugar clearly, but I like sugar.
Well, don't hack on yourself, man. No, I mean, I'm good. This isn't like going and getting a latte like I had hoped it would be. No. But I did reveal to you an old trick that I used to use, and you were mind blown. And
okay. I'm glad we're getting into this. I'm really glad we're getting into this.
It blows my mind that this would surprise you in any way because you've known me a long.
No, it doesn't surprise me at this point. I'm not surprised that you would go to this level of cheaping out.
This is not.
I will just call it cheaping out.
Okay.
What else is it? What else is it?
Creativity. It's creativity. At the Waffle House, I used to do like a hillbilly lemonade is what I would call it.
A hillbilly lemonade.
Yes. Okay. You get the water and the lemon, and then you throw a pack of Sweet and Low in there, and you got lemonade. Now, it tastes a little janky. I will give you that.
No.
Because Sweet and Low.
No.
It's debatable whether we should ever consume Sweet and Low.
Would you at least ask for extra lemons?
No, I usually want to do it.
One wedge.
One per glass.
One wedge of lemon.
I got to tell you, man, this wasn't a real exact science. This was just something I was doing to not have to buy a Coca-Cola. That's all.
This was the waffle and the water days, right?
This was the waffle and a waiter.
Waffle and a waiter.
That's how we always order it.
A waffle and a waiter.
Waffle and a waiter.
This
was back when we thought we were funny.
When you were in high school.
Back in the day.
Many
moons ago, yes.
Back in the 1930s.
Yes.
When you were in high school.
Me and my boys. Chris, Nick, Sheldon, all the guys.
Yeah.
We would go and we would sit at the booth and we had Miss Connie, who was about 4'10", and she had a beehive, like the old beehive haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah, went like Marge Simpson style up into the sky.
Nice.
At least 12 inches.
Do you think it was because she felt like she was trying to get to 5'9" or something? I guess she would have to.
It did give the effect of a much taller woman. It did have that effect.
It'd be interesting if she put like googly eyes in it or something like that. And then you actually be making eye contact with her.
Miss Connie had seen everything. I'm certain of it because she worked a 24-hour Waffle House in a very busy part of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we would go in there sometimes late, sometimes early, and we would have pickle races. And if you haven't had a pickle race before, what you do is you get the pickles and you chuck them up on the window. And whoever's pickle gets the bottom first wins. That's the pickle race. So this was how the 90s kids occupied their time because we didn't have this thinking smartphones, man.
I didn't have smartphones either.
I didn't have a smartphone
either.
We occupied ourselves with pickle races and
I was homeschooled, and Well, yeah. Anyway,
I don't know why this surprises you at all.
pickle races. Oh
Yeah,
my
it's pickle
gosh.
races. Yeah, man,
Okay,
it's great.
all right. Well, so you throw them at the window.
Yeah, you throw them like flat side the window. They
And then-
stick, and then they slide.
They would slide. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you get about 3 or 4 of them up there, and it's like Kentucky Derby's coming up this week. It's like the Kentucky Derby.
Holy cow. Not
With
by the time we
pickles.
air this. It probably would have already happened by then. But
Fine,
regardless,
very much like the Kentucky Derby in that
turn it-
you put your best dress on to go do this.
find your best pickle.
Fancy hats, the whole 9. Really deck it out.
Why am I getting images of you guys in like suits and ties, bow ties with like the wicker hats? What are those? The woven like straw hat things,
Like
the
the
flat
Mary
ones?
Poppins?
Yeah, kind of like that. You guys walking up in there, so now we're going to have a pickle race. Like, what in the world?
Have a monocle like Mr. Peanut.
There's
I
some
don't think it was that sophisticated.
image. Yeah, no.
It definitely was not that
No,
sophisticated.
you guys wearing your Nirvana t-shirts and stuff.
I've
like
never
that.
had a Nirvana t-shirt. I did not.
That's probably because Mom
Yeah, Mom wouldn't have had that.
burned it. You did have other t-shirts we won't talk about on air, though.
Yeah.
Ask some other time if you
Yeah,
get around. That's
well.
a good time. Anyway,
I didn't buy that one.
Dad totally bought that one, right?
Andy.
Andy bought that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better.
Yes.
Oh, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not outing this, but think of a certain
No, we're gonna move on.
We're
moving on.
fried chicken joint. Anyway, that's awesome. That is awesome. Anyway, today we're doing book club, though.
I'm really questioning whether we've got the same t-shirt in mind.
Oh, was there another one?
No, I'm just wondering, like, yeah, I'm wondering if we got. Okay, this is for after the show because I need this to be approved.
Okay, all right.
People are gonna think that I own some heinous T-shirt now.
Okay, all right.
Like, and I
Cook,
did not.
no, we're gonna have this conversation right now. Bleep this out, Cook. Bleep this whole part out. Actually, no. Just play the opera music for me while Eddie tells me what. Yeah, I had no idea that you had that one. All right. Well, let's.
Not bad shirt.
I mean, it's not bad.
No, not a bad
it's not like bad.
Not a bad shirt. Just kind of a funny shirt.
It's definitely not a shirt you would wear around your wife.
A funny shirt.
That's not a good idea at all.
Yeah. Well, at 18, do you know how many things are under the file of not good idea that were in my life?
Yeah,
Oh, hot.
Probably quite a few.
Oh.
Quite a few. That leads us into entrepreneurship. Speaking of not good ideas,
It depends.
I mean, it kind of depends.
Yeah.
We had a couple weeks ago, we had Matt Aston come and join us, sit down. He had mentioned a book, E-Myth, which I'd always thought it was like internet related, right? Like I thought for some reason E-Myth was about, internet mythology. I thought it was cryptocurrency or some crap.
Internet mythology.
I don't know. About unicorns or something. I don't know.
Internet starts with an I. Internet mythology would not fit, would
like
it?
like electronic. I don't know. Anyway, it's weird. Shut up. I had it all wrong in my head. In other words,
A little bit.
just a touch.
So that's not what it's about.
No.
Entrepreneurial myth.
Entrepreneurial myth.
How many times do you say that? real fast?
Entrepreneurship. Anyway, so this is a book for entrepreneurship, which is very relevant for Eddie and I, since we both own businesses, started them, all that fun stuff. Matt recommended it to us. I picked it up for. Did I pick it up first? I think I picked it up first. Yes, I did pick it up first because I recommended it to you.
You
sir.
did.
I did. So I picked it up first. Frankly, just in a time where and you go through these. You go through seasons where you're like, everything's awesome. And then you go through everything sucks. It's awful. It's terrible. I was in the everything sucks part of entrepreneurship and opened this book up. It felt like I was reading about myself. And it really will hit you in the teeth. If you own a business, it will, or if you think about owning a business, let me say this. If you own a business, this did hit you in the teeth. If it doesn't, then you're probably doing some stuff better than me.
For sure.
So we read through this, or I read through it. I gave it to Eddie, and he's been listening to it as well. And we thought, hey, there's so much insight in this. Let's break it down. Let's talk about it. I'd suggest you guys go out and pick it up. Go give it a read yourself if that is you. Or if you do want to potentially become a business owner one day, if that's in your future, pick this up, because I think it would have saved me a ton of time had I just started with this as kind of a roadmap.
Might keep you from doing it to begin with.
It could.
Which could save you a lot of time, headache, and money.
It really, yes. It really, really could.
Really gives you some good foundational questions to start with if you're going to start a business.
Yeah. Let's start here. Entrepreneurship is freaking hard. Okay?
Very much so.
Very much so. A lot of people quit. I thought about quitting yesterday. Like, it's the people that are successful are the ones that continue on, right? And just keep plugging.
Do you remember the business stats? We're not going to be able to just
rattle these
crack those off. But I mean, it's like 80% of businesses fail in 5 years.
Yeah.
And then every year that goes by, like the failure rate just continues from there.
It continues to compound and it gets worse and worse.
Yeah. I mean, so it's not like once you've busted through the 5-year ceiling, you're, broken loose and you're out in the meadow running around. Like you're not.
So the way he kind of starts into the whole book is through Sarah. She's a pie shop owner, right? And she started with this love of making pies, right? And this is, again, like you start to see why that 5-year mark or even that 1 year or 2 year mark can be so devastating for business owners. Is that we start and we hear about like, okay, when she first starts opening and everything's exciting, everything's new, and then she has to start delivering the product, right? And then she has to do all of the things. She is the chief everything officer at that point. And you could see her just starting to burn out. And you read that and you're like, holy cow, again, this is me. So it was very well written, and that he used somebody to kind of be a peer to like walk through with you.
And that's retail, but it's amazing how this hit in a very non-retail industry.
Yeah. So let's dig into it. What were the major things? We'll start there. What were the major standouts to you in the book? And then we can dig into each thing kind of individually.
Let's go introduction first. Like first part of the book.
Yeah.
The technician versus the manager versus the entrepreneur. That right there was kind of like worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
Because, and the storyline really is, like the whole pie shop storyline, it does frame it up pretty well, because you feel as a business owner, you feel that a bit. You feel the, oh man, I've stayed long hours. I've come in early. I am responsible for emptying the trash and doing the accounting and,
and the hiring and the firing and all of this stuff. Yeah.
And then he boils that down to this technician, manager, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Kind of,
three-prong little approach. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, what are you? All right. So most people that start a business are a technician, and they're a good technician. So think, I kind of thought of this in context of our own business, of course, but I think like starting an engineering business would be a good thing. So you're in engineering. Shoot, you're in architecture, detailing, or maybe you're even a contractor.
Yep.
And you're a good PM, or you're a good detailer, or you're a good engineer. And you think to yourself, and maybe even have a few customers that you work directly with, I'm pretty good at this. Maybe I could start my own business. And you're a very good tech. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be very good at business. So the technician side of things, technician is by definition a person who is good at doing the actual work.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're a drafts person, you're good at drafting. If you're an architect, you're good at architecting, designing. Same, engineering, you're good at designing. So you have a level of talent for doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's technician. Then you got the manager. The manager is somebody who has got talent for go, just blow your mind here managing. But like you're good at moving the people around and everything like that, but that doesn't necessarily make you an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The entrepreneur is the person that rather than, and this is a big overarching theme, rather than being somebody that works in the business, you work on the business.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the book's framework is about
working
playing that out.
On the business.
Working on the business. How am I going to be that person?
The thing with the technician, and he talks about technicians being the most likely to start a business. They're good at the thing. So we'll take the engineering example. Great engineer. I'm going to go do this myself. I'm going to be able to call the shots. I'll be able to work when I want, when I don't want to, like all that stuff, right? All these amazing things. They start out from this place of being that technician. Then they move into business owner. At that point, you have just now switched. You are no longer a technician. Whether you like to think it or not, you are no longer a technician. You're an entrepreneur. You're kind of flipping over more into that managerial role for a second too in there. You're a lot of things.
Yep.
If you get caught thinking, my job is to still engineer things, you're missing it. You're not going to actually build out a very healthy business. That's the thing that I started to feel in this, is that when I started up my company, the reason I started it up is because I was good at wielding a camera, running around and like getting really cool stuff, right? That's why I started. I was a technician.
Yep.
I was good at that thing. And I said, okay, I'm going to start a business. I didn't realize that I was actually putting away my technician ways, and that I needed to put on a completely different hat, and that I needed to set people up for success. And I needed to look at systems. I needed to look at processes. I need to look how we're delivering things on the business, not in the business, right? If I'm operating the camera, there's something that's probably gone wrong here. Same with the engineer. If I'm engineering the building, and it's been that way for years and years and years, something's gone wrong here. Your ultimate goal should be to set people in place with really solid systems and a good foundation for them to operate and be those technicians, support them well, so that you can focus on the other stuff, right? The support roles.
So this played out for me in ABSI, like when I was younger and just beginning, and a lot of hours worked.
Yeah.
Just a lot of time in the seat. And, company was started, the tools were bought, and, got accounting going, all of this, but, and obviously, it's been Dad and I, and then Dad and you and I from, kind of the beginnings of things. But as we're working on this thing, the main thing has been to do work, get the work done, right? So we sell a job and you got your sales cap on and you're like, woohoo.
Yeah.
And I always had this thought, like, wouldn't it be great to just be able to chuck that over the shoulder
and then
to a
focus on
team
the
of
next
people
thing.
and go sell the next thing?
Yeah.
Go business dev the next thing. But that didn't happen. Over the shoulder, come right back into your lap.
Yeah.
And so not only are you in charge of sales and estimating, you're also in charge of making sure it happens. Then as you're making it happen, you still have to do sales. You still have to estimate, or it's not going to come back the next time. You're going to have a lull.
And around the merry-go-round.
The books have to be done.
Yes.
The office has to be cleaned.
Yeah.
HR has to be taken care of.
Yeah.
You hire somebody, you're the onboarding person.
Yeah.
You're the admin. You're signing lien waivers. You're doing all of these different things that in larger companies, there's kind of an avenue for that. And sooner or later, you look up and you're like, okay, so I'm getting here earlier and earlier every morning. 7 turned into 6:30, turned into 6, turned into 5:30. And I'm staying here later and later, and 5:30 turned into 6, turned into 7 to 8 to 9 to I'm working till 1 a.m. at least one night a week.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that this is the reality of the way I started in the industry, then go ask somebody that's very close to me and they will tell you, yes, that's exactly what happened.
It's what happened.
Yes.
I can just tell
All
you
right.
that.
So you get there and then
happened to me too.
you're kind of on the brink. right? You're like, man, I can't maintain this pace.
Yeah.
So what do? You start looking around and you go, I need to hire.
Yep.
I'm going to go hire people. And you hire and try to manage, or you hire and you completely offload.
Yeah.
And in this story, that was this guy, like it was like Joe or something. Joe brings in this other guy named Harry, and Harry comes in and he figures, I'm going to hire Harry and he's going to do my books, because Harry really knows how to do the books. But while he's here, I'm going to get him to answer the phones too. And then while he's answering the phones, if the phones aren't ringing, Harry could also probably clean the office a little bit. And then if he's not cleaning the office, Harry could probably also help me with onboarding another person. And I'll put that person under Harry because I don't want them directly reporting to me, because I kind of like my freedom.
Harry's the answer for everything.
Harry starts coming to you and saying, I need resources, because Harry's becoming overtasked.
Yeah.
So you start feeding him resources. Then Harry, gets down the road and you've built a team under him of his people. And it's kind of been the answer for a minute. Things are going pretty well. But then things start to flag. And the old customer calls and says, hey, got a little issue here. I need you to look into it. And you say, I'm going to look into it. And then another thing comes up and you go, okay, I got another issue, another old customer. And you tell them, I'm going to look into it. All the while, things keep spinning. And your freedom is already, you see, starting to collapse. So you go look into things. And then you start seeing how things are being done. And you like how they're being done because Harry trained them or didn't train them to do them. He hired them and they started doing it. So you're like, why are you packing the boxes like that? Why are you engineering the thing like that? Why are you drawing it that way? And you get in and you say, give me that. Give me that, I'll do it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you got a responsibility back.
Yeah.
And you do that throughout the company as you start to dissect and you go, give me that, I do. And you end up at a place where you throw your hands up in the air. Harry quits because he's had enough, because you've usurped him, and all of his people don't really respect you anyway because they're actually his people, not yours. And then you shrink. And the business case is that's usually the cycle of small business. That's usually the beginning of the end. You're going to shrink back. You're going to become the technician again. You're going to get discouraged because you don't really want to sit there, because the same thing's going to happen again.
Yep.
You're going to get overtasked.
Yep.
You're going to be chained to your desk. You're not going to be able to do what you really want to do. And you fold. So you never got yourself to a place where you worked a business to a point where you had assigned responsibilities and systems in place.
That's where it really is that's where I'm really focused right now.
And it's because you were thinking like a technician.
Yes. Yeah.
Or maybe a manager.
Or maybe, yeah. Instead of thinking, how can I develop the systems? That's where I'm at right now. Systems. I'm geeking out about systems. I've always kind of been a geek for systems.
Sure.
I've always loved
tools
it. Tools,
and systems.
making things flow, making things intuitive, making things happen and work without me needing to be there. And one system that I feel does work pretty well, and it's got its chinks. Like, I'm not saying everything's perfect, but the podcast it's a system.
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of got their lane. Everybody does their thing. We know how it all flows.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that the innovation stops once it's running. It's got to be a constant innovation in it. But it's pretty cool because, like, you step back and you look at the podcast and it happens. And everybody's got their place and everybody does their thing and they do an amazing job at it. And then I step back and I look at my business that I'm operating now that actually pays the bills. And I go, because fun fact, the podcast doesn't pay all of our bills.
Or any of them.
Or any of them at all. Anyway, it does not have the systems in place. So I'm like, what's the disconnect here? Oh, crap. I'm trying to be the technician.
Yep.
And like with the podcast, I went in with this mindset of like, I want it to run itself. And so I built it with this mindset of so-and-so needs to be here, so-and-so needs to be here, and this is how the system works. And it is a lot cleaner and it operates a lot smoother. With Storybuilder though, like, I'm still learning the systems and I'm still piecing everything together, still cobbling all of it together. It's difficult. You know, it made me step back and go, why am I not doing the same thing for my main business?
Do you remember
What in the world?
example he used of Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers?
Oh, I love that.
Wasn't that good?
Founder's a great movie too. Have you seen that one yet?
I've not seen that.
Dude, that one's so good.
Nice.
So good.
So I might, is that Tom Hanks?
No. Oh, crud. What's his name? It's Batman. Shoot. Old Batman.
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, just pulling that out of my ear, huh?
Yeah.
Air is another good one.
Oh, Air. I watched Air this weekend, actually.
Yeah.
Air's
As far as
amazing.
business starts. But all right, so
Ben Affleck's jogging shorts and that are just fire, man.
there's something else.
So good.
Yeah.
Woo. Anyway.
That joke, I'm going to leave that. So Ray Kroc goes in and buys, I mean, it's not named Crocs.
No.
That was
It's McDonald's.
That's something else. It's McDonald's. It's because the McDonald's brothers have developed a restaurant system. And he goes in and sees the system and says, that's different. I think I can duplicate that, use it. So when Ray Kroc buys it out, he buys a system.
Mm-hmm.
And here's where the point of franchising your business comes out. Make your business a franchise. Now,
Not because you want to put it everywhere.
right.
Not because you want
Yes.
to put it everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was point taken because he started bleeding off on this trail.
I was like, I
And I
don't
went,
get it.
I think
Yeah.
this is where the retail side of things is just going to take over and I'm going to be
Right.
like off the page.
Yeah.
And then he like pulled it back on the trail.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So you don't have to franchise it. He's saying treat it like
A
a franchise.
Yeah.
And what he means by that is act as though you are going to set everything up to where it can be predictable, repeatable, and you're going to get good repetition.
Yeah.
And then he starts setting up some rules around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dude, I love the McDonald's story. And it's really cool in Founder, which you'll see, seeing how they had it all like laid out in chalk
Yep.
on the ground. Like they were sitting there and they were timing everything and they were looking at how people moved through the kitchen and like, oh, so-and-so bumped into so-and-so. Don't do it like this. Do it like this because it's more efficient. It's going to save you 2 seconds. Like, hey, don't put that many pickles. Do this many pickles, right? They lose their mind of freaking pickles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy cow. Like that is, it's not just a good recipe for a franchise stamping it out. But I mean, can you imagine if your business, the one that you're creating, has that level of efficiency in it?
Yeah.
That means that I can hand the keys over to somebody and say, run the thing.
And it runs.
And everything is mapped out.
Which he calls a
Everybody-
turnkey.
Everybody knows their lane.
Yes.
And you know what? And you know what's good about that? I would argue that everybody's a little bit maybe, I don't know. McDonald's may not be the best example for that, but I would argue that people have a lot more fulfillment because they know what they do, right? There's no confusion in the air. And that's a big problem with a lot of startups. There's mass confusion everywhere. Nobody knows what so-and-so does or what they do particularly. They're just blurred lines all over the place.
Well, we've talked about this even with the podcast that
Yes.
we've got a lot of systems in place, but then when that gets up to our level, many times you and I just trade, go back and forth, do whatever.
Right. And that's an area that, again, we need to grow. It's
And
that we
yes.
need firm lines in place of like, Eddie handles this, Tyler handles this.
Yeah. When the question comes, you know who answers it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Which is good. Because again, it's just like we can divvy up responsibilities. I know what you've got. You know what I've got. Boom, we're done.
Yeah. So
And-
they call that the turnkey revolution.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole
Yeah.
like hand the keys to somebody and they can take off with it. Points of that being that you're going to provide a consistent value.
Yeah.
That you're going to have. This was interesting. Ray Kroc was taken back by the fact that high schoolers were doing the cooking.
Yeah.
Well, that was a level of skill that was actually required after you systematized everything.
Yeah.
Because you got some consistency in how everything was made.
Leave the burgers on this side for this amount of time.
Then
flip them, do this.
I can train a high schooler to do that, or I can make a robot to do that now.
That too, yeah.
So precision and order
Systems.
is another thing. Demonstrate precision and order.
Yeah.
Capture everything you're going to do in an operation manual.
Mm-hmm.
So write it down.
That's hard.
It is hard.
It makes sense. I know I need to do it, but that is a very hard proposition. But
yeah, go ahead and plug it. Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. I have played with this already, and I think I mentioned it in the previous podcast. Loom. If you are a person that is building a business right now, good Lord, go get Loom right now. Go download it, pay them the freaking money, do the thing. There is Loom, and then there's Loom AI. Get the one with AI in it. What you can do is you can sit there. Let's say you're a structural detailer, thinking about it from your lens, right? Okay. How do we model beams? How do we model columns? How do we model shear plates? What sort of bolts? How do we check drawings? How do we do it? Like whatever, pick something, okay? Talk through the process. Turn on Loom. It's a video camera thing. It'll turn on your video camera, take your microphone. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Record it. And at the end of that recording, hit stop. When you've said everything you need to say, hit stop. And then it will go over and it will actually transcribe your whole freaking video. And then with AI, you can hit generate SOP, standard operating procedure. Boom. And like within 15 seconds, you've got a very solid starting place. I'm not going to say that it's going to be 100% there, but what I did see was that it was like 90%.
It was pretty darn impressive.
I'm like, holy cow, because that is one way, if it's just you, that you can knock out some of these operational guidelines very quickly and update them too. Because the one that I recorded the other day, funny enough, client came back and said, hey, we need to start doing this and this too on this document. I was like, oh crap, oh shoot. Dude, I just recorded another video, hit generate, copy and like I'm done. That is a hack. Anyway.
Yeah, so we got to move because believe it or not, we've burned some pretty decent time.
Yeah.
So there are 7 parts of this process that they recommend. So the one that I really took note of, and it is first, is what's your primary aim? In other words, what's your life goal? Yeah. And we've talked about this a little before, like look at what something's going to look like if you get all the way to the end of it and decide now whether you actually would like that or not.
Yeah.
So stop, think about what will my life look like, or think better yet, like what is my primary aim? Like what do I want? Do I want freedom? Do I want like whatever it is?
Yeah.
And if this business doesn't generate that at the end of what you're trying to do, well, then don't do it. Save yourself the trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe you're willing to put the time in, build it to a certain point, sell it, and then your primary aim of this is to sell and get to a life place where you can do something else, volunteer or something. Okay. Yeah. Set that first.
I'd throw in a caveat to this, and maybe this is my millennial coming out. You let me know. But primary aim, for sure. All right, know where you're going to go. But also think about how you're going to get there and what you want getting there to look like. Mm-hmm. Okay? So if my primary aim is to build a $30 million business and sell it, okay? That's my primary aim. Do I want to, at the end of that sale, like I sell the business and then I get to spend time with my kids? Or do I want to spend time with my kids along the way? Mm-hmm. That's important for me, right? Okay, I have this primary aim, I have this goal, but think about the path along that road, right? Okay, maybe we're not going to grow as fast because I'm focused on my kids. Like I want to spend time with them more, as much as I can, right? So I'm going to prioritize not working super duper late, things like that.
I don't think that's not like some millennial thing or whatever. I think it's at the heart of step one, which is is this a business I want to develop? Like ask yourself that before you go on.
What will it require of me?
Yeah. Like measure the cost of what you're going to do and figure out what matters to you.
Yeah.
And then make sure this fits.
Yeah.
So
all I know is when I was writing mine out, that was a big part of it.
For sure.
It's like family and faith and like all of these different buckets. I'm like, I want those to be at the center.
So there's the primary aim. That's more like life and you, like who you are.
Yeah.
And then there's your what they call your strategic objective.
Yeah.
Which is like, what will the business look like when it's grown up?
Yeah.
Like a grown up story builder looks like this. Right? A grown up ABSI looks like this. Does it this way. So you establish those things. Then you get into strategy. So you start, so there's 4 tenets to that. There's the organizational strategy, your management strategy, your people strategy, and your marketing strategy. And then out of all of that, a 5th, which could be like the sum of all that kind of put together, is then you come up with your systems strategy, right? So we're not going to have time to unpack each of those 4.
We will not.
This is a bit of a book plug, so we don't want to we're trying to give you a summary, but not like,
It's a book plug. We haven't been paid to plug. It's been a meaningful book.
It's been a meaningful book. And I would say that once you get into the weeds of these different sides of strategy, there's some pretty cool things. I do want to get to the hotel.
Yeah.
So I think I'd rather get into that storyline than get into these little individual points.
Oh, dude, I can take the storyline. I love this because all right, so Michael Gerber, the writer of the book, talks about his favorite hotel and going to visit. And it's called the Venetia. And it's just a small boutique sort of hotel, right? Shows up the first time. This is his first visit. Shows up, everybody greets him, all that stuff. They give him exactly what he needs. Gives him, hey, here, let me help you get your luggage to the room, all of that stuff. They walk in and like mints on the pillows. Everything's just pristine. And then he like walks out through the garden because he's got a dinner reservation, sits down to dinner, comes back from dinner. Everything's amazing. Just sitting there is just some brandy. And it's not just any brandy. It's his favorite brandy. And the fire's on and everything. And then he like walks into the bathroom. Holy crap, there's a bag of my favorite coffee sitting there, just ready for me. And then a note from the person that was in my room that just said, hey, if you need anything, here's my number. Let me know. I got you. And just like little nuggets like that. That's a very high level version, but like he goes through each level and just like the nitty grittiness and just says they did this and this and this and this and this. And there was a ton more that they
feels
did.
very personal.
Very personal.
Yeah.
But he was like, how in the heck are they doing this? How in the heck are they making this feel so personal, so just dialed? Like they knew my freaking brandy. When did this happen? And so he went back and he actually asked to speak to the manager because he wanted to get more info. And this manager is like a kid. Like he's not really somebody who's like upper echelon manager. He's just a kid that the manager or the owner found, brought in, gave him a handbook, stayed with him, made sure he had everything he needed. And then he stepped away. And this kid was running all of this. But what he had was this manual of this, how this whole thing operates, and down to, all right, our staff at the restaurant is asking questions to figure out what you like. Mm-hmm. And then we're writing it down so that I can hand that to the room crew, and the room crew is putting in the right coffee and the brandy that you want, and like turning down your bed in a certain way, and all these different things to make it feel comfortable. And what's amazing to me is that level of personal that you can get, personal experience that you can get even through a system.
Yes.
But he talks about the guy just being kind of like the creator of the system, this person who just kind of, he got obsessed with just fine-tuning every detail and just making sure everything worked. And then also that there was accountability built into that too. So let's say the person who comes for room service doesn't do a specific thing. They're checking a box saying that they did it. So there's accountability in that. And there are people that come back and back check and make sure everything's up to snuff and right. It's just, when he walked through that, I was like, that's the kind of business that I want to build. Like, that is it. That's the kind of business anybody would love to own, right? Something that just absolutely thrilled your customers to death, just made them feel so, gave them the warm and fuzzies, for lack of better. Like, that's what every business owner should desire. And it's not because that is exactly that it just lines our pocket. It's like it's the right thing to do. It's something you can be proud of,
The systems and processes run the risk of being or feeling coming off as like having no heart.
I think that's kind of the concern a lot of times too, right?
And so I think that specific example was like a rebuttal to the fact that this can be personal.
Yeah.
And
it just has to be engineered that way.
It was an engineered process whereby they knew we're going to ask questions to find out what this person's likes and dislikes are, because it's our job to make sure that they have everything they need and some of what they want.
Yeah.
And there's an outline they follow. They write it down. And then one note was that it was not only personalized, but it was consistent. Mm-hmm. So when he went...
That's huge.
When he went the first time, it was great. When he went the second time, it was great. When he went the third time, it was great.
But they had already collected all of that data too, right? That was also in a system to where when he came back, they were able to pull up his file and say, okay, so Michael likes these things.
Right.
Go do that.
Yes.
Here you go.
There was another story that he pits against that about going to a barber where it was one of these like, I'm going to sit down and they're going to, I think it was like hand him a nice
we have all had this
hot cup of coffee and gets a great haircut.
Yeah.
And a consistent, but the consistent experience doesn't happen. So he goes the second time and it's good, but not great. And it's different things, they weren't filling the coffee cup. There were things that were let go of.
Yeah. So you don't go to the barber. So I can fill everybody in on this because, bald. Anyway. So he goes in to the barber shop and they give him a wash. Like they rinse out his hair. They do all the thing, do the shampoo. Like, dude.
It was stone cold, man.
It was stone cold. I don't care. Steve Austin. And then they gave him bourbon, stuff to drink. Like, amazing service. And then that second time he comes in and it's just none of it is there. Mm-hmm. They don't do it again. But he came in with that expectation of getting that same amount of service every single time.
Actually.
Actually,
it's not. Some of the things happen, but not all of them do. Mm. And then the third time, some of the things happen, but not all of them do.
Yeah.
So it's the consistency. It's not that maybe if he had the great haircut he got on the third visit with that experience, and then that experience was duplicated every time after he came, he'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
But it was an inconsistent experience that made him feel like, well, I got this the first time, this the second time, this the third time, this the fourth time. I don't know what I'm going to get. And that's more uncomfortable than, just getting a consistent experience.
I think we put so much effort on making that really good first impression.
Well, sure we do.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's fine. That's not a bad thing. But then we forget to make a second impression or a third impression or a fourth impression, like you're already in the door. You've already given me your money before. I know you're going to do it. Whatever. Wow. Like that was convicting to hear. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm guilty of this. I know I'm guilty of this. Anybody who runs a business is guilty of this.
It's like dating.
It is.
Dude, you're put your best foot forward. And then if you're not careful when you get married, you quit putting your best foot forward. You need to put the reality forward. And then you need to be consistent.
Just maintain that reality.
Yes. And that breeds good relationships.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It breeds good business too.
It does.
Because business is relational.
It is.
And that point is definitely driven home as well. So there is a lot in the E-Myth book. And I will make the point, E-Myth Revisited, like you don't have the wrong book. If you got E-Myth Revisited, still
they rewrote it and said, but it's current and that's fine. Yeah.
There are a few things that didn't age well.
Yeah, there were. Yeah.
One point he was making about doing business in a suit.
Yeah.
Like if the guy's got polished wingtips and, pinstripes or a blue suit or whatever, and he's going through all this stuff. And he's like, doesn't that make you trust them more? And I was sitting there thinking,
generationally, no, that does not.
No, actually
it doesn't.
I'm wondering like, what the heck's up? Because things have changed a lot.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering like, geez, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he references like fax machines and phones and different, business systems that they have.
Yeah. A binder of
whiteboards and
processes and stuff. Yeah, a binder of processes. Maybe we could digitize that,
Yeah.
I think there are things throughout for sure that have not aged well, but the central principle around it is
the
problem.
So the problem of the whiteboards with the blue marker and how they would come in and clean, and the blue marker would get on the white walls because like the white walls were determined and the white boards were determined over black boards and the blue ink was determined over white chalk. Yeah. And I'm sitting there listening to that. I was like, bro took it to the next level. He took it all the way down the road. And I mean, goodness, that was fun. But then you're also like, yeah, we probably wouldn't do that on a whiteboard anyway now. Yeah, there's some stuff that you're going to hear some age on this thing. But
for sure. Well,
some good principles.
At the end of the day, so let's close this up. I was rambled on for long enough here. At the end of the day, this is a book that we felt like it impacted us in a positive way. We hope it can impact other people as well. I think it's important for us to state we're covering this not because we have it all figured out and that we've done this. No. We've done all of the things wrong in the book.
Yeah. And I was kind of convicting listening to it.
That's why I was convicted. We're looking at it going like, holy crap, we have really screwed this up.
Me,
throughout. And so I think if you're considering, hey, I want to open up a business, read this first, for sure. And then if you already have a business, well, may God have mercy on your soul, along with the rest of us who own businesses. Let's get better together. Well, and maybe this one will help you out.
He does challenge. Yeah. He says, hey, if you just want to be a technician, then by all means, be a great technician. Just please go work for somebody.
Yeah.
You're not trying to build a business. You own your job.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between being an entrepreneur and building a business and just owning your job. And a lot of times when you own your job, you make statements like you and I have both made in the recent past is, oh, my boss is such a jerk, referring to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like my boss makes me do things that another boss would never make me do.
Yeah.
If I was a technician for somebody else, I'd never have to do all of the things that I forced myself to do. I own my job.
I'm a jerk boss, man.
I'm a jerk boss.
I'm so bad.
And by all means, if that's where you're at and you want to be a technician and you want to be left alone in your technician work, well then rather than owning your job, maybe you should look at being a technician for somebody else. That's the challenge. So a lot of this is just challenging the premise of like, maybe don't want to own a business.
Yeah.
But I would put this in the realm of challenge, not impact just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because the impact remains to be seen. Like, will I play this out?
Yeah.
Am I going to follow through?
Yeah.
But the challenge is there.
The challenge is definitely there.
The challenge has been thrown down where I'm like, okay, heard.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to own my job or am I going to start doing something strategic? And I do not think this means it has to be a big business.
To me, like, no, I don't think it needs to be a big
That's
business.
Your strategic goal.
That's not his proponent. Like, he's not saying go out and scale a multi-billion-dollar business. Like,
don't
that's
have to
not the case.
franchise the thing.
It's for small businesses.
Yes.
Small businesses, right? Which can be big, but still. For me, like, I know I just want to, I kept coming back to this place of feeling like my business needs to be like a car. Like, my business needs to be something that I could walk up to sit down in, crank it up, and it just goes from point A to point B. It's predictable. It just does the thing. Like all the components work. You know, you just sit in it. It's fit, it's finished, it's right. It just works, right? And I think we've been looking at businesses not in that way. I don't know another comparison. But that's how I've started kind of viewing what I'm building. Is like I'm building a car here. That's complex. That's going to take some time. It's not going to be easy at all. But yeah, dude, that convicting book, good stuff.
Good word.
Good stuff. We'll put the link to go grab it on Amazon or something like that in our show notes if you want to go check it out. Let us know your thoughts too, I'll say. contact@brospodcast.com. Love to hear your insights from this. Has this book impacted you? Or after you read it, tell us what you think.
A little free note here. If you are, and we've mentioned Spotify a couple of times, if you are the primary account holder on your Spotify account, which I fortunately am, Tyler is unfortunately not.
My wife manages the account. Therefore, I do not get 15 hours of listening to audiobooks.
That's right. But you can get this for free on Spotify if you are the primary account holder. So you don't have to pay for it.
Come on, Spotify. Like that's got to be a switch you can throw. Yeah. Come on. Anyway.
There you go.
All right, guys.
E-Myth, revisited.
Again. Revisited again. Revisited. Something like that.
Just
anyway.
Go build something awesome.
Do that thing.